lighting is terrible.
Hi everyone, Megan here from Romance by the Book with the lovely Marielle.
No,
And this is week 2 for February's book of the month. That time I got drunk and saved a demon by Kimberly Lemming.
it's problems, you know?
So many problems, so much fun. We kind of left off the night before. She had almost gotten dragged down underwater by this, or she did get dragged down underwater by this like water demon thing. And he saved her, and he also told her he was definitely marrying her when this is over. And she was like, WTF. So we're back on the
This
road in the morning.
cinnamon, who is a risk averse
Yes.
uh, spice trader, is teamed up with this demon who apparently has fallen deeply in love with her after she like killed an
An
alligator
alligator.
and fed it to him. So,
He is obsessed. So in the morning, they're back on the road, and Cinnamon is confused by Fallon calling her like my love and stuff like that, whereas before he was calling her Rabbit all the time.
well,
And
and she's like, stop that. And he's like, what? Do humans not like use pet
use
names?
pet
I guess I
names?
could do honey, but that feels wrong. And she's just like no though,
No,
like
you're missing the point. And he tells her he's always wanted a fierce mate. And after last
she's
night, he's
still like,
convinced that it's
not
her.
it, not it.
And he's telling her about how he'll bite her and give her some of his magic when they mate, leading to a few weeks of like a honeymoon period. And she's like, I haven't agreed to any of that. But like he's really talking it up, and she's like, oh no, I like this.
It is really funny to me because he's just like, I would do it now, like the biting mating thing. But
Mhm.
he's just like, but then like we do need to do this quest and we wouldn't be able to because we wouldn't be able to like get our hands off each other. And she's just like,
For like 3 weeks. Yeah. Oh my God,
uh
it's amazing.
maybe we need to
And so they are set upon by bandits, and her horse Smash takes out the first one that gets too close to it. He like knees him in the groin and then uses his leg and like kicks him in the head or something. And then Fallon dispatches 2 others, and she shoots an arrow into the chest of the fourth after he threatens her bodily. And
hmm
so he ends up down the river or whatever, the last one. And Fallon's like, damn it. And she's like, what? And he's like, I said I
I
wasn't going to
wasn't
hurt any
supposed
more
to
humans.
kill people. He's like,
And she,
he's like, I wasn't supposed to kill people. And it's like he thinks she's gonna be mad at him. And
yeah.
she's
And
like,
she's like, they were clearly rapists. You can definitely kill rapists. Like, I'm good with that. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, it's
I
hilarious.
I have to say that there's something so endearing about a like merciless killer who is
Yeah.
like taking down notes, right? Like she's like, we don't kill humans, and he's like, okay, got
Got
it.
it.
And then it's like, except if they're rapists, perfect. Like he's definitely making
Yes.
sure he knows
It's
the rules.
amazing. Oh my God. It's so funny. And so he's like, I'm going to earn you as my bride. Like, you give me tasks or whatever you want to do. Like, I'm going to earn it. And so
He's
she's
like,
like,
what how many points do I need? And she's just like, 1,000? Like
so
she
she
has
says
no
a
idea what he's even
thousand.
talking about, but
And in her head, she's like, I'll just never give him enough to make 1,000. Like, great, perfect, problem solved, right? But of course, he's got her number. And so he grabs her and like pulls her to straddle him on the seat of the carriage. And he just starts dirty talking her big time while he's like slowly bringing his hands into play. And she is like totally overwhelmed and almost like completely lost in the moment. But then finally she's like, wait, no, stop, which he does. And she's like, you can have 100 points if you like give me a minute, right? And so she like gets out and goes down and like dunks her head in the river to like cool off. And that it was very hot. And so they get to Wondermere, which is the name of the town that's in the east. And Fallon is very suspicious because he smells a bunch of other demons, but he doesn't see any. So he's like, I'm not really sure what's
he's like,
going on.
something's real weird here.
Yeah. And so they drive through these 2 feuding innkeepers on either side of the road, like bad talking
Like
each
their inns
other's
are across
faces.
the street from each other.
And so she picks the one that won't make her pet demon sleep in the stable,
And
but
they're like, we
she does
should get
need to
you a
warn her.
collar. And he's like,
What?
what?
So yeah, they are gonna throw in a collar for her to use on her pet demon while they're staying at the inn.
Uh-huh.
He is not
Also,
having
like
it
what
at first.
he says something, and she's like, "Oh, he
He
speaks?
talks?
How odd." And it's just like the more they're like in this place, the more they're like,
What is happening
weird.
here? Yeah, and so
Do not like.
yeah. So they're up in their room and they're talking about this is like the next morning, I think she's like trying to convince him to wear the collar like before they go out to like figure out where the temple is and
Yeah.
stuff.
And
And
it's
so they're
mostly because she's like, clearly there's something weird going on here.
right.
And it feels a little like slavery,
Mm,
but I like you can't stand out because we don't actually know what's going on and like what kind of magic is keeping these demons like
subdued.
restrained, subdued. So, like she's trying to be like sensible,
Right.
but still, and like kind of keep him safe, I think is more
Yes.
the what she's,
Mhm.
but he is just like, what if though we just like
Don't.
destroy everybody? Um,
What if I just burn
anyway,
this whole place to the ground? So they
and so when
open
she
up
opens the door and there's the innkeeper like, what?
Usha, I think is her name.
Yeah,
And she
Usha.
has clearly been eavesdropping. Yeah, Usha. And she is shook up about all the things that they have just talked about
And
and
they're all like, what did you hear? And she's like, probably all of
everything.
it.
Yeah. So she's of course very confused about this whole thing with the goddess not being the goddess and all that. And she's like very put out by it. And then she's even more put out by the fact that apparently demons are like sentient creatures, not just mindless beasts. And these people have been keeping them as slaves, basically. And she never thought anything about it. And she's horrified.
Yeah, but she's very like, okay, I'm in.
Right. Like, I want
And
to help.
Cinnamon's kind of like, wait, but like, why though? Like, I don't understand this. And she's just like, I feel like she doesn't feel victimized, but she's kind of like outraged that she like has been made to treat people so badly because she was misinformed about who they were.
Hmm.
And so she's just kind of like, I can't continue to act like, obviously I can't continue to like live under these conditions.
Yeah.
And which I was like, oh, what a good person, because
Yeah.
yes, like you
As
may have
soon
been
as
part of
she
the
knows
problem.
better. Yeah.
So good job picking the end,
Yes,
because I
good
feel
job,
like
Usha.
the other guy
Yeah.
might not have
Well,
been.
and also she comes up with the idea, which is that she's going to drive the cart over to the temple and sell the spices to the mages. In this town, there's like a mage where all the mages live is like right is like attached to the temple and they like
Yeah.
keep the temple safe from like the demons in town aren't allowed to get near it and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And that'll be like a distraction for Cinnamon to go into the temple and steal the chalice and replace it with a fake
Like
one.
a
They, like,
fake.
sell them to tourists and stuff.
Yeah.
And, also she has a pet hyena, Kiki, which is, like, described in the weirdest way, like, sounds like a giant, weird, like, animal that is also, like, hilarious, like, everybody laughs because she, like, claps and does stuff that's funny. And, then that'll help with, like, distracting the mages while Cinnamon does her thing. So Cinnamon is in town, like, killing time in the village, and she sees this tanner who's whipping a demon and ordering him to change into like a werewolf. I guess it's a werewolf demon.
Yeah.
He wants his pelt. And I'm
And
like, what
she
animal
is
or
like,
anything would change in like knowing you're about to kill it? Like, of course he's not going to change, you idiot.
but also like I guess he's under whatever that spell is, so he's
Right.
supposed to be following their commands and he's just not. And
Right.
but Cinnamon is kind of like, wait a minute. So all of the like furs and like the clothes that I like, those that I was like, oh, what nice fabric,
Admiring
that's like a
mhm,
person? Like
a
what?
person's pelt. Yeah.
So
It's horrible.
she's real upset by this. And
Yes. And so she offers to buy him. She's like, well, you've whipped him all up now. You can't use his pelt. And but like I can use him on my farm. So like tell me how much, right?
yeah,
And
he
so
tries to like give some huge and she's just
yeah.
like, uh-uh.
Mm-mm.
So
Good news is
so
she's a salesperson, so she knows better than to take the first offer.
but so instead of like dropping the price, he's kind of like, okay, well, I'll give you, he does drop it some, but then he's like, well, what if I just give you a second?
I'll throw in a second one, which
And
turns out to be a snake man, and Cinnamon does not like snakes, and she is very freaked out.
I would be very much like Cinnamon because I also am like, so she keeps like, just look at his face, don't
Yeah.
look down,
Yep.
because
And so he gives her, there's like a magical stone that is how you like have control over the demon. And so he gives her the two stones, they leave. So she walks over to find like an alley to like sneak into, which she does. And then she like shoves Cinnamon in the wolf man's face until he's lucid. And then she feeds him. And then
she
she
had
wakes up.
gone and gotten nachos. We didn't say this, but
Oh,
she
yeah,
went, she
nachos.
found a stand and she's like, oh, my brother used to say he got nachos. It's like, poor Cinnamon. She is faced with a choice of like a small or a bucket. And she's like, well, bucket.
Yep.
Um, and so
Bucket o nachos.
so she
Yes.
does have a whole bucket of
She loves
nachos that she
cheese.
feeds
That was made
the,
clear earlier too. But yes, she's a big fan of nachos. After having never had them before, she's like, yes, this is a winner.
but since she bought the bucket, she definitely has enough to share with the werewolf
Yes.
when
So she
he,
feeds him, and as he's recovering, she's trying to gather up the courage to like mess with the snake man because she like doesn't want to get near him.
this werewolf isn't helping because he's like, oh yeah, those they
Very
have a name that I
vicious.
have forgotten, but she is like, they're like vicious and quick and they'll like, you know, definitely they
Yeah.
could
And
do
she's
some
like,
damage. And
great.
she's just like,
Thanks a
stop
lot.
talking, please. And he's like, wait, you're still gonna free him? And she's
Yeah.
like,
She's like,
yeah.
yeah. So she does wake him up with the cinnamon, and he almost squeezes her to death until he figures out what's going on. Because of course he's disoriented when he first like comes to. And so she explains to him everything that happened, and he talks to Felix is the name of the wolf dude, and they like talk.
See,
And
it's really like calm under pressure, I have to say, because
yes.
she's very like, if you could let go, I did save you, and
Yeah.
I even appreciate it. She's like, also, I'm terrified of being squeezed to death, so if you could loosen your grip.
Could you
And
chill out?
he,
Yeah. And so of course after hearing everything, they both offer to help as well. So Sin goes over to the temple and acts the tourist and is like walking around looking at stuff. And she manages to switch out the chalice for a replica. And of course, as soon as she has it in her hand, the huge fight starts again. The demon things that are or the like goopy like ghost things that are like coming out of the chalice trying to stop her. Plus, there's mages who have magic who are trying to stop her, and they're in fights outside the building with all of her cohorts who are helping her.
yeah, it's
Um,
definitely worse than the last time.
yes,
So, as far as like the how hard it is, she
yes.
brought this time. Last time she had a hard time smacking the like breaking it, so this time she brought a hammer. But
Mhm.
she can't get to the. She can't like stop long enough to break it because
Right.
there's like all these people trying to stop her this time.
And so she finally is able to break it, but she's hurt pretty bad from her fight with the, like, shadow creature, and Fallon is big mad. Um, and so he's so big mad that he turns into a fucking dragon, which I did
Which
not
no one
see
was
coming.
aware was a like we thought he was just a regular demon, but
Yeah, and he
no.
did have fire, like, when they were camping, he, like, fire and stuff, but, like, I'm like, "I don't know about demons, maybe he's got fire, like, what do I know?" I did not think dragon, and that was a big surprise to everyone, including me and very much Cinnamon.
Me too. And
And
Cinnamon's like, because he just keeps getting bigger, and then is like flies off,
he just starts
burning
burning
everything, and
shit down,
she's just like, oh
which
shoot.
was his original idea that she vetoed, and then now he's out of control, and he's like, "Nope, we're burning it down," which he
The
does.
thing that's funny is that Cinnamon is very concerned, but her like wolfy friend and the snaky friend are both like, I mean, what? He's not trying to kill us.
Right? Like,
So
"We're gonna stay next to you, clearly he likes you, so we're good, like, we're just gonna wait it out," right?
she's like, I need to stop him.
Yeah. And so Usha says, "You need to go find him and like stop him. And meanwhile, we're gonna go find a boat. Like we have to get out of here, clearly." Also her horses have wings at this point because one of the mages dropped you hear somebody say, "Oh no, not the flying potion," and it gets like dropped and opened, and like her horses now
Horses
have
are
wings.
Pegasus now.
And they have
Pegasus.
like gone away to who knows where. So they she goes toward the Colosseum, which is like where the dragon is heading. She's sort of like following him as everybody else is like running the other way.
And she
And
opens the door and there's like a bunch of
like
people
gladiator
in there
demons.
and they're just like disoriented, but also like, ma'am, are you? taken?
Is that
She's
dragon
just
your mate?
like, she's just like, what?
Two of
But
them would love to claim her, but she's like, nope, sorry, yes, the dragon is my mate, and no, there will be no claiming today, right? And the dragon, of course, scares them off. And so he lands, and he heard her tell the others that he was her mate, and of course he loves that. And
and
she's like,
she's like,
clearly I was
clearly,
just doing that because, and he's like, nope, don't care.
you did say so.
So he drags her into this like fancy bathroom that has, indoor plumbing, and
Running water, it's warm. Like she's just like, what?
she is
What is this?
enthralled.
Why
Yeah.
don't I have it at my house?
Yes. So they shower off all the gore, and
He
then he
finds her
brings her
some
into one of the
clothes that belongs to who knows who, but
yeah. He brings her into one of the bedrooms and they mess around. It's very hot. And Fallon is trying to convince her how good they could be together. And she's like, still very unsure. And so she wakes up in the morning to find Felix, the werewolf, waiting for her. He has clothes for her and they need to head to the docks because Usha has found a ship and Fallon has gone to look for her horses.
also like at this point too, because that place was full of demons,
Mm.
there's like more people, more demons have
Have like
like
joined the cause.
joined them and have realized like because they're like, oh, you're stopping this late.
The
I,
thing
I
that makes
think of
us
her as
crazy,
Amarantha, even though that's not her name.
Myva.
But he's like, everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm in on that. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so now the boat's like full of creatures.
Yes, and, so all the other, demons are, like, loading up the supplies on the ship, and Usha and Cinnamon were voted as co-captains, which Cinnamon doesn't want. She's, like, constantly trying to avoid being in charge of things, and yet she is in charge of things.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't want to be. She's like, I didn't want to go on an adventure. I don't want to head up an adventure full of demons anyway. And
Yeah, and
and
Usha
it was
basically
just
is like,
like but none of these other people should be in charge though, right? And
right,
she's
yeah,
just like,
"Suck it up,
okay.
buttercup," basically.
Hmm.
And so they're headed for this pirate island because she figures some people, like, wouldn't follow them there, and that's, like, a rest and refuel fuel place for them to figure out how to get to the other 2 temples and what they're gonna do
Yeah.
to break the other 2 cups. And so they have a big feast that Sin, like, oversees the making of in the kitchen with a 10 orc kitchen crew that she picked out. And, she and Usha and the only other female, which is Holly, who's a centaur, and Felix are, like, having girl talk at dinner, like, about her feelings for Fallon and, like, why she's scared to tell him how she feels. And so she finally, like, works up the nerve and she's gonna go talk to him, and when she goes to talk to him, he's all sexy laying in the bed and he just ate, and she ends up just saying, "We're almost out of pheasant. If you need more." He's like, "No, I'm good." And she's like, "Okay." And she,
Okay,
like,
bye.
runs away back to the table, sits
It is
down.
kind of funny. We haven't mentioned before that like every time he like uses his magics or transforms into whatever, his
Mhm.
like shirt burns off. And so she's always like, those abs, whew, that V, whew, like it's just the poor lady. So when she goes there and he's all like sexually in the, and
Yep,
she's like,
uh-huh.
whew,
Can't, like, brain
short
meld.
circuit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So she sits back down at the table and, like, gulps her wine, and they're like, "That good, huh?" And she's like, "Oh," she chickened out. And so then she decides to get blackout drunk instead. And that is the end of chapter 10. So, a lot more adventure to come. They got to figure out the other 2 cups and figure out what they're going to do with all their demon friends now that they're free. So, we will be back next week to talk about that.
Yes, don't miss it.